Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Mike.
Hey, it's our All English unit, and we're going to focus on two pieces of news. The first one will be about the new electric suitcase debate. People are talking about the pros and cons of whether we should have all of these electric suitcases on board that have batteries that sometimes can short out and start fires. So we'll talk about that first, and then we're going to talk about another story. What's that about?
That's right. It's about this big carbon capturing plant in Iceland called Mammoth. It is working to clean the air of carbon dioxide, which of course is one of those greenhouse gases that's responsible for global warming. It's a great idea. It works using power from a geothermal plant, so the electricity it actually uses to operate is clean energy created by the heat from the Earth's core, like volcanic heat. It would be another way of thinking of it. But even still, it is a very expensive thing to operate. The technology is quite new. There's hope that in the future, this will become more efficient. But for now, it is certainly a very interesting real-world science project.
Okay, guys, right now we're going to listen to these two stories read aloud once, and then we'll be back to discuss them. In recent years, electric suitcases have gained popularity among travelers due to their convenience. These suitcases, equipped with electric motors and powered by lithium-ion batteries, allow users to move quickly through airports and stations. Not only do they carry belongings, but they can also be ridden, making travel easier. However, the emergence of electric suitcases has raised legal issues. Specifically, in Japan, such devices have caught the attention of authorities and are now regulated. Last June, a Chinese tourist in Osaka was reported for riding an electric suitcase on the sidewalk. Under Japanese traffic law, these suitcases, which are capable of speeds up to 13 kilometers per hour, are classified as motorized bicycles. This classification requires users to have a driver's license, and the suitcase must be equipped with safety features like mirrors and indicators. To ensure passenger safety, some Japanese airports, including Narita and Haneda, have imposed restrictions on their use. While electric suitcases offer convenience, they also present new challenges and responsibilities, requiring updated regulations to protect public safety.
Iceland's carbon-capturing giant, Mammoth. In Iceland's capital region, a facility named Mammoth is performing an astonishing task. It captures carbon dioxide directly from the air. Developed by the Swiss company Climeworks, it's the world's largest direct air capture (DAC) plant. The facility uses powerful fans to draw in air, capturing carbon dioxide through filters before releasing the air back. The captured carbon dioxide is then turned into stone and buried permanently 700 meters underground. Remarkably, the entire process is powered by a nearby geothermal plant, achieving a zero-emission operation. However, this technology is extremely expensive, as capturing each ton of carbon dioxide costs nearly $1,000. Furthermore, although it can capture 36,000 tons of carbon dioxide annually, this amount is minimal compared to global emissions. The process also consumes vast amounts of electricity. Despite these hurdles, scientists and entrepreneurs remain hopeful about the future of DAC technology. Climeworks is working to reduce operational costs, and the U.S. government is planning to launch its own carbon capture project in 2026. This project, along with technological advancements, offers new hope for combating global warming.
Okay, let's dive in, guys. Let's look at a headline. That's what we call the title of a news story. A headline. It reads, Convenience versus Safety. Here's the debate. Here's the battle. Which one is more important to people? And everybody has an opinion. And you want to get in there and tell people what your viewpoint is. So convenience, we like our lives to be very convenient. But here in Taiwan, at least, You know, the saying here in Taiwan is 安全第一, safety is number one. So we'll see how this kind of rolls out. We've got some of these electric suitcases already being sold. I checked out the price, Mike, because I thought, I'm just curious. Are they really, really expensive?
Yeah.
The ones you ride or are able to be ridden are quite expensive. I saw one that was $1,300 US, which is about 40,000 NT dollars.
Yeah.
It wasn't even big. It's the kind you carry on, with you on board. But the others that don't have that capability of being ridden, because they have to hold a lot of weight if you're sitting on them. They're around $175,
okay. Much more
which is
affordable.
more affordable.
Yeah. I would also worry about how much space inside the suitcase you actually can use for your clothes and stuff.
I
because
know.
The batteries, the electric motor, it must take up some space. And as a person who often brings a lot of souvenirs home, how much extra weight is the battery and the motor taking away from all the shopping that I can do on holiday? So it's an interesting idea. But yeah, like you, I'm not sure I'm quite ready to jump in and really try one on my own with my own money.
Those batteries are heavy.
They are.
They're very heavy. And so you are limited to a certain amount of weight that you can even take on board or check in at all. So if you do check them in, you have to remove the battery.
Oh.
But even if you take it on board with you, you have to remove the battery. So you're sitting for the whole flight with this big battery in your lap.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting situation. Also, I saw some that are transparent. I don't want people looking inside my luggage.
What is the reason for it to be transparent or see-through so you can see inside?
Yeah, my fear, Mike, is that eventually they'll say, all luggage must be transparent to protect people's safety.
I see, but then everyone can see my underwear.
There's no privacy anymore.
I'm so shy.
So let's look at this. In recent years, we've seen that these type of electric suitcases have gained popularity. They're more and more popular because they're really convenient. These suitcases, equipped with electric motors, are powered by lithium-ion batteries. I wanted to mention here again, guys, remember, luggage is non-count. Suitcase is countable. So you can say my luggage. You cannot say my luggages, but you can say my suitcases, but you don't want to say my suitcase are. Be careful with whether something's countable or not.
That's right. With luggage, we would say a piece of luggage. So 3 suitcases equals 3 pieces of luggage with no S, as Stephanie said.
So what is a lithium-ion battery? It's a kind of chemical that we dig in our earth for, the lithium, and then they put together these batteries.
Yeah.
They're rechargeable.
That's right.
That's the key part of this. They're rechargeable, so you can use them again and again. But as Mike said, they're quite big and they're very heavy.
They are quite heavy, absolutely. Same kind of battery that you would have in your smartphone or in your cell phone that can be recharged. A lot of people know that phones are getting heavier and heavier, and part of the reason is because the batteries are getting bigger to give you more power to run all of the wonderful apps and stuff. But yes, you're right. You do sacrifice weight for performance and convenience. But as it says, this type of suitcase, it allows users to move quickly through airports and stations because we should repeat this. You can ride these suitcases like you're riding a little scooter or something like that.
Yeah.
So instead of walking all of those miles through the airport corridors to get from the plane to the taxis and other places, you can ride on these little motorized suitcases. It says not only do they carry belongings, as any suitcase does, they can also be ridden, making travel easier and making you the person that everyone in the airport is pointing their finger at and saying, hey, look over there. Look at that guy. Look at that lady. That's so cool. But you may have to sacrifice a few of your belongings to have one of these suitcases. Belongings, basically, it's just a fancy way of saying your stuff.
Yeah.
What's inside your suitcase when you go on holiday? Your belongings, in the same way that your stuff is in there. These things belong to you. They are your property. You own them. But it's a good word to use for, things like what's in your bag, what do you take on holidays, What do you put in the locker at the gym and, lock up when you're exercising? Your stuff, your belongings, your clothes, your shoes, your phone, your wallet, your keys, your hat, your sunglasses.
But it has to be movable, which I didn't understand until I actually looked this up, and I thought, that's interesting. It can't be your house.
Okay, sure.
It can't be your boat. I guess it could be a boat. You can move a boat, but be careful with that. It's always plural, guys.
So when you move house, you will bring your belongings to your new house, right? Those could be big things, your fridge, your bed, your sofa, but also your shoes and your books and all your other stuff. Just things that belong to you, your property, but as Stephanie said, not property that you can't move, big things like land and houses and stuff. Other things, your personal effects would be another way of saying that.
So let's move on to the next paragraph. It says the emergence of these electric suitcases. This has raised legal issues. We're talking about laws now, regulations,
rules.
People who have authority are getting involved. Yeah, we've got some rules coming out. Specifically, let's talk about Japan. These devices have caught the attention of authorities. Authorities are people that have the power to make laws and regulations that affect our lives. So now these types of suitcases are being regulated. Last June, we had a Chinese tourist who got in trouble in the city of Osaka. She was riding her electric suitcase on the sidewalk.
Oh.
That is a no-no.
Okay, yeah, I could see how that could be dangerous. In the same way, you shouldn't ride motorcycles or scooters or things on the sidewalk. They move a little too fast for some people, especially older people in society, young kids. Move a little too fast to get away from or get out of the way of. And of course, sidewalks can also be quite crowded and jammed with people walking around. And it says under Japanese traffic law, so under the laws of Japan, the same ones that control, what you do with your car and your motorcycle on the road, these suitcases, which are capable of speeds up to 13 kilometers an hour, are classified as motorized bicycles. So it's basically a motorized bicycle. Sometimes we call those e-bikes, right? Electric bicycles. Bicycles that help you not use so much muscle power because you have a little electric engine in them. And they can go quite quickly, especially quite quickly for traveling on a sidewalk, 13 kilometers an hour. I think the average person walks around 4 or 5 kilometers an hour.
Runs maybe 5, So this is fast.
It's double, maybe 3 times the speed that most people walk in. As I said, older people, moms pushing babies in baby carriages and strollers. These types of people can't move out of the way fast enough often. So they're classified under Japanese law as motorized bicycles. And I am assuming that in Japan, you can't ride motorized bicycles on the sidewalk either for, as we said, reasons of safety. When we classify things, we put them in categories, often in kind of an official way, right? So if you're talking about different styles of movies or different styles of books, you might go to a bookstore and you're looking for a book with a bunch of maps in it. And you're like, well, I looked in the travel section and I looked over here. Where can I find the map books, the atlases? And they say, oh, those are classified as science books. So they're in the geography section or something like that, often with a bunch of different things that are similar but different in enough ways. We'll classify them. We'll put them in different categories, in other words. And so the category of motorized suitcases is the same category as motorized bicycles. And not only are there certain laws about where you can ride them and how fast you can ride them, I think this Chinese tourist might have broken the law in another way by not having the right license.
Oh, this tourist was in trouble, that's for sure. So these suitcases must be equipped with safety features like mirrors. There are no mirrors.
You can't see behind yourself.
No, on these suitcases.
Right.
It's hilarious. An indicator can be lots of different things. It could be a person or a thing, and it kind of signals or points out something. It could be some sort of device that measures things. Some of these suitcases that I looked up had things like an LED light on it, letting the owner know if it was locked or not.
Oh, okay.
It had alarms on it. it had different indicators. Maybe the battery was getting low.
Oh, okay.
That would be a way of talking about an indicator.
And often with moving vehicles, we would say indicators. You might also say turn signals. So those orange lights that show if you're turning left or right, you would expect to see those on a car, of course, motorcycles, scooters. Maybe not on a suitcase, but according to Japanese law, they should be on the suitcase because it is like a motorized bicycle. You should be able to show people around you which way you're changing direction if you are turning with your indicator or, as we said, a turn signal.
Yeah, but does this mean they have to wear helmets?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
I wanted to mention there are limits to the weight that those suitcases can take. So, guys, some of you out there are too heavy.
I see.
I saw one for sale. Yeah, that was
Okay.
about 285 pounds.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you're really big, like a lot of Americans. Sorry, Americans.
Most people in Taiwan might be okay with that.
I think
but
they'd
you're
be
right.
fine. I've only seen very slim women ride them so far.
Don't give it to an American football player.
Yeah,
Definitely too
it
heavy.
can't take the weight. So to ensure passenger safety, because they want to make sure the passengers are safe, some of the Japanese airports already have restrictions or regulations.
Okay.
We've got two here, Narita and Haneda. They've imposed restrictions. A restriction is a limit on something you can do. There are rules. And they've decided that these can be a little dangerous. I've seen them in airports, and they scoot around so fast, you could knock people down.
For sure. For sure.
So you'd have to be very, very careful
Yeah.
if you did ride it.
And obviously, airports is not somewhere you expect something to be
No.
zipping by you at 13 kilometers an hour. So people just aren't used to seeing them, right?
Yeah.
They don't think about them the way we would think about cars when we're trying to cross a street. You expect cars in that situation.
I would say they
not
need
here.
to reduce the speed on these.
Oh, yeah. Or just give them to everyone. So we're all trying to turn airports into, motorways.
What do you
or
call that? Bumper
something.
cars?
Exactly.
Yeah, so we're all running into
Exactly.
each other. It's going to be an interesting world, that's for sure. One of the things that is a positive about these electric suitcases is they can track them more easily.
Okay.
Some
that's
of them
true.
even have, they come with their own QR code.
Oh, interesting.
So if it gets lost, someone can scan the QR code and immediately find and notify the owner.
Okay.
But I have some of those advantages already with how my airline tracks my luggage. So I don't know.
It's pretty rare to get your suitcase lost these days with all the computers and, as you say, laser scanners and QR codes.
Yeah, but they can arrive late.
They can definitely arrive late. They can definitely end up on the wrong plane, but you generally will get it back after a day or two.
Yeah, after your vacation's done.
Often.
Yeah, that's what happens.
And then as we get to the end, it says, well, electric suitcases offer convenience. Sure, we can see that. They also present new challenges and responsibilities. Definitely new challenges with restrictions, regulations, responsibilities for the people driving them. It's not just fun. You got to be careful and think of other people. And this is requiring updated regulations to protect public safety. When we talk about regulations, laws, rules, things like that, these are things put in place by the authorities, as we mentioned before, the government, the police, the people whose job it is to make sure we in society are safe. So regulations, yes, are basically rules. We often say rules and regulations, laws and things like that, because, of course, as fun as they are, as convenient as they are, we do want to protect everyone in the public.
That's right. So this is the end of our first news story here. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about Iceland's mammoth. Welcome back, guys. It's our all-English unit, and we're focusing on news today. Our next story is about Iceland, and they've got a carbon-capturing giant that they have named Mammoth, which is kind of a fun name. Mammoth, especially the woolly mammoth, is something I remember from school growing up.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's already extinct. It looked kind of like an elephant, but it had a lot of hair.
That's
and its
right.
tusks were really long and would curve up to the sky. They no longer exist. They've been gone for, I think the last time I was reading about this, The last one that was seen was about 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, probably.
But you might see some bones of one.
Oh, for sure. They found some frozen in ice.
Yeah, Natural Science Museum.
Even talk about using some DNA to kind of bring them back.
I think that's scary, but that's another discussion.
There's nothing, of course, about this power plant that has anything really to do with large, hairy, extinct elephants.
Yeah.
But they were really big, and often we use the word mammoth not only as the name of this old animal, but just to describe something as being huge, all right? So if you say, I have a mammoth project at work, it just means a really big project that will take a long time. It'll be difficult. It's just a lot of work. It's a big challenging amount of work that you have. And in this case, well, it could also just describe the size of this power plant or this carbon capture plant. It could just be a very large building, like we could say that Taipei 101 is a mammoth skyscraper.
It is.
It's big, it's huge, it weighs many thousands and thousands of tons. So let's find out about it. We know it's in Iceland, and that's a good place to start.
Yeah, it says it's in Iceland's capital region.
Oh, okay.
The capital city.
Reykjavik?
Yeah. That's one of my bucket list countries. Yeah, I just want to go to Iceland. Our friend Scudder, we record with someone named Scudder. He was like, Steph, I don't know. You want to wait there? I think their volcanoes erupting.
Oh, really? There's always a risk there, isn't it?
I said, come on. I want to go.
Yeah, you see the northern lights, right?
Well, they have geothermal power.
They do.
Which means they have volcanoes and probably some nice hot springs, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So they've got a facility. A facility is a big building that operates and usually produces something. I look at facility and I think a lot of plants. A plant that produces something, but a facility.
Factory, too.
Factory is good. It's performing an astonishing task. A task is a piece of work. It captures carbon dioxide directly from the air. So it's pulling carbon dioxide into this facility or plant. It was developed by the Swiss company. Swiss is what we call people from Switzerland or things that are from Switzerland. The company's called Climeworks. Not climb as in your passion or climbing up a tree, but climate. It's kind of a clever name. It's the world's largest direct air capture, and a direct air capture is being shortened to the acronym DAC or DAC. It's kind of a plant that is pretty special because it's the world's largest DAC plant. So we're going to learn more about that.
Very, very cool. So yeah, I'm sure there are many factories where they might produce carbon dioxide in making things. They might have air filters or they capture it through the process in tanks. This one actually just uses the air around it, the environment, the atmosphere, the same air we would breathe. It draws that air in and cleans it. As it says, the facility uses powerful fans to draw in air. We might also say to suck in air, to pull in air, capturing carbon dioxide through filters before releasing the air back. So a lot of you here might have air conditioners or dehumidifiers, right? Things that pull water out of the air. It kind of works in the same basic way. You pull the wet air in, or in this case, the air with carbon dioxide that's just there around you in the atmosphere. And through the machines working through the process, it basically separates the air part from the water, or in this case, the CO2, the carbon dioxide part, releasing the cleaner now or drier air, in the case of dehumidifiers, releasing that back into the room or back into the atmosphere and capturing either the water or the carbon dioxide, whatever you want to be cleaned, removed, or taken out of that air. It says the captured carbon dioxide is then turned into stone. Very interesting. And buried permanently 700 meters underground. So they're not capturing the carbon dioxide to bottle it and use it, I don't know, to make Coca-Cola, to make the little bubbles in your bubbly water or soft drink. Or to put in
fire extinguishers, which I found out.
Fire extinguishers to use in other ways, because of course that might end up back in the air, of course. No, they turn it into stone. So basically turn it into blocks of hard material. And then those are buried permanently. They're put in a big hole in the ground, 700 meters down underground or below the surface, and I guess covered up and just left there to not make more pollution, to not put out more greenhouse gases into the air. And who knows, maybe one day we'll find a way to turn carbon dioxide into rocket fuel to go to Mars or something. But at least for now, we're getting rid of some of these harmful greenhouse gases.
I'm wondering, though, what it's doing to the Earth.
I don't know. I mean, it's not as bad as like nuclear radiation and,
I don't know. We don't have any long-term data. So this new stuff is always kind of suspicious to me. So moving on, it says remarkably. It's a word we use. It's an adverb we use when we're saying, hey, something's really kind of notable, something you want to pay attention to. If somebody remarks on something, which is the verb form, they make a comment about something. So remarkably, when you see that word, it kind of means, hey, pay attention. We got something kind of worth noting. So remarkably, the entire process is powered, this is where it gets its power from, a nearby geothermal plant. Anytime you see geothermal, they're talking about power that comes from below the Earth's surface, where it's really hot. So they're pulling the power from below the Earth, which is kind of cool. Micah talked about that briefly, and it is clean energy, which is nice. And so they are able to achieve a zero-emission operation. Or you could also say a zero emissions operation. That's probably how I'd write that. Emissions is anything that is released into the air. If you ever see the verb emit, E-M-I-T, it's sending something out. So emit a signal, emit a sound. It's sending something out. Here we're talking about a zero emissions operation. So they're trying to achieve zero emissions to help the planet. However, the technology is extremely expensive. I'm not surprised it's brand new.
That's true. Yep. A lot of this stuff is expensive. And
when it starts out, right?
And not
then it
as
gets
efficient
cheaper.
when it first starts. Yeah, exactly. So how expensive is it to run? It says capturing each ton or each basically 1,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide costs nearly $1,000. Okay, so I don't know how that compares to other ways of capturing carbon dioxide, but certainly it is quite expensive. It does cost a lot of money to not only build it and also to run it, even if you're not really paying for the power, because of course geothermal power, once you build the power plant, is essentially free, but it still costs about $1,000 per ton. And once you find out in the next sentence how much carbon dioxide it can capture, you can do some quick math and see, oh yeah, that's quite expensive over a whole year. Furthermore, it says, although it can capture 36,000 tons of carbon dioxide annually, this amount, 36,000 tons a year, is minimal compared to carbon emissions. So it's almost like we're using a sponge to try to soak up the ocean. This is going to work in a small way, but is it going to make a big difference?
I doubt it.
Yeah, not really. It's a minimal change to the amount of carbon dioxide in the air, even at 36,000 tons, which would be what? $36 million to operate, basically. To remove that much carbon from the air in a year would cost around $36 million to run the plant. And this is a minimal amount. Minimal meaning a very small amount, the lowest amount you would expect to find, okay? So the minimal number would be the lowest number. The maximum number would be the highest number. And so basically we're saying a very, very small amount considering how difficult and how expensive it is. And it takes a lot of power. Sure, it's geothermal power. It's free. But still, that's power that they're not able to use in Iceland for other reasons, right? To power cities and give people light in their homes. It says the process also consumes vast or huge amounts of electricity. So quite inefficient, we would say, from a power consumption point of view.
We sometimes use minimal to talk about very small amounts of damage. For example, you might get in a car accident and your car had minimal damage. So you'll use it that way. When you talk about a price, though, the minimum price, that's the lowest that is possible, right? Or the minimum score to qualify for entrance into college.
Like
we'll use it that way. But we wouldn't use minimal there. So be careful. There's a difference between minimal and minimum. Moving on to the final paragraph, you've got these hurdles. So even though we have these hurdles, which are obstacles in something, scientists and entrepreneurs remain hopeful about the future of DAC technology. Entrepreneur is someone who comes up with a brand new idea for a business. You can pronounce this 2 ways, or maybe even 3. Entrepreneur or entrepreneur. They're both correct. But they look like they're still hopeful that they can make this work, even though right now they're not getting a lot for the buck. There's not much bang for the buck, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So Climeworks is working to reduce operational costs so it doesn't cost so much to even run this whole plant. And the U.S. government's planning to launch its own carbon capture project in 2026 in a couple years. This project, along with technological advancements, offers new hope for combating global warming. So we'll see what comes up. We got so many smart brains out there who are coming up with new ideas all the time. So we hope that this is maybe a jumping off point. We don't know.
Yeah, and I think as they do this more, they'll learn how to make it more efficient. The costs will come down, as you said. And hopefully then it won't be reducing small amounts of CO2, but enough to make really an actual difference to global warming. That would be great.
Okay, guys, that's all the time we have for today. No Chinese teacher. Sorry about that. But thanks for joining us. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Mike.
Bye.
Take care.